July 9th, 2018. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Cummings.
Here.
Ms. McGuire. Here. Mr. Gaius.
Here.
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Nordine. Absent. Mr. Byer.
Here.
Mr. Weed.
Here. Next for agenda additions. Does anybody have anything? I have one item, and that is to move the information, item 9, at the very last line of your packet of the agenda. Move it up to reports as item G as an action item.
Okay. G. Okay.
And that action item will pertain to the installation of the manhole.
God knows we need that.
Anybody have anything else? All right, I need a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Gieske. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda is set. Next is public hearing for the 2018 Police Patrol Vehicle Grant. I need a motion to enter into the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call?
Mr. Byer.
Yes.
Mr. Cummings.
Yes.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Mr. Gaius.
Yes.
Ms. McGuire.
Yes.
Mr. Weed.
Yes, we are now in the public hearing regarding the Police Patrol Vehicle Grant. Can you initialize with some overview of that?
All right, so the 2018 purchase of a police cruiser was budgeted into the 207 for the police portion of the general fund, and the USDA grant actually pays for 55% of the vehicle. So we are, the public hearing process is part of this, and if anybody has any comments about it, the township will be paying 45% of the vehicle, and the grant would pay for 55%.
All right. Does anybody from the public have a comment regarding this grant?
What's the total price?
The estimated price of what the federal government will pay is $18,975, which leaves the township to pay $15,525, for a total of $34,500. Okay, anybody else?
Is that a 3-year or 5-year life on the vehicle?
I'm not sure what we're getting for the life on the vehicle.
They usually,
Replace it.
I know the chief usually goes by miles. Around the 100,000 mile mark is about its useful life. So it really depends, 3 to 5 years.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I noticed that during your Friday morning meeting, there was a question about can you acquire more than one police car with this grant? And Mr. Schaefer noted that he would obtain the answers from Mr. Gajewski's questions. What did you come up with?
So right now, the chief is requesting one vehicle. The other vehicles don't have enough miles to really justify getting two right now. So this one vehicle will replace one of the vehicles that will be ending its useful life, but we don't have another one right now that will be ending its useful life.
What if we did have 2 police cars that had real high mileage? What would your answer be? What if we had more than 1 police car that had extremely high mileage? Would your answer be any different about we can buy 2 cars with this grant, or?
Right now, we're going over the budgets for all the different departments. We're going to be scheduling some work sessions to go through that. Right now, in 2018, we're scheduled to replace 1. I don't believe that the chief would be asking for 2 unless he needed 2. But if we had 2 with really high mileage, then that needed to be replaced, then he would.
What would you do, split the money up or go for a bigger grant?
We would try to go for additional.
Okay, all right.
And I believe there was an additional question at that Friday session about the cruiser, about it being road-ready. And I think we had some numbers on what it would cost to fit the vehicle once it arrived. I was curious, it came as a surprise to me the other day, Mr. Schaefer informed me that our police vehicles don't have computers in them, which puts us about 30 years behind the times for most police departments. I was wondering if, I talked to the chief, he was going to look into that and maybe get some numbers for the costs, and if the company that outfits the vehicle, if they would do the outfitting for a computer. Has he come back with any figures for that?
What I've heard is to put MDTs, the mobile data terminals, in each one of the cruisers. To be road ready, it would be about an investment of about $40,000 right now.
Oh, that's considerably more than,
That, but that's not a per vehicle cost. That's to get MDTs
for the
in
whole
the
fleet.
cruisers, as well as the networking equipment needed to be able to support those MDTs.
And so was there any consideration given to, with this new vehicle, having a computer installed in that one and getting us up to,
If you're gonna do one vehicle, you want to do them all.
okay,
That's kind of like a fleet upgrade. And then from here, if you did that, then you would want to upgrade
We'd
with
do them all.
MDT going
Okay.
forward.
okay. Very good.
Any other comments?
Is that in the budget, the 40 grand to upgrade?
No,
Okay.
Has the police chief ever asked for this, other than Mr. Palmer talking to him recently? To your knowledge, I know you haven't been here that long, but,
not while I've been here.
Okay.
No.
Anything else? All right, then I need a motion to exit public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Gajewski, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call?
Mr. Gajewski?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Weeb?
Yes, we are now at the public hearing. Next is public comments. For this first session, there's a card to fill out and hand in to the superintendent. There's a 4-minute time limit, and when you come up, please introduce yourself. Do we have any cards?
We do. The first is Maggie Gautier about youth theater camp and upcoming performances.
Here, is this where I stand?
Yes, ma'am.
4 minutes, okay, I can take up 4 minutes. Hi, everybody, I'm Maggie Goche, I'm from North Hollywood, California, and I'm here directing the youth musical theater camp this summer. I wrote the show, and these kids deserve an audience. They're working really hard. It's a 5-week program. I've written a show because of a lot of reasons, but I think that a positive message is really important. So who's ever watching this, I'm a real believer in word of mouth, so I'm going to put this up there. Is there a camera? Okay. You can call the theater, you can get tickets, you can donate to the theater. That helps pay my airfare home to LA. Otherwise, I'll be walking. That's kind of a joke. But anyhow, it's an incredible theater. I've been to a lot of theaters, these little black boxes. This is a 300-seat theater, fully equipped with great technology. But forget the technology, although Eric wouldn't want me to say that. These kids have worked really hard. If you can't come to the theater, please buy some tickets and give it to some people that might not be able to afford them. It's only $10 for adults, $5 for children. The theater phone number, let's see if I have that phone number here. I don't have that phone number here, but it's Shoreline Players Theater, 6000 North Scale Avenue, right next to the library. I have a GoFundMe page because, quite honestly, I'm shopping this in Los Angeles after I go home. And I've got these incredible kids that are really working hard in 100-degree temperatures. So I love the Midwest. This is my second time back here. I'm great friends with Sue Miller, who runs the theater, and her kids, and Eric, and everybody here. And listen, it's 117 degrees in North Hollywood. I want to live in the Midwest during the summer. So thank you for having me. Thank you for coming to the show. Tell all your friends and buy some tickets. And I actually have some on me. So if anybody here on the board wants to buy 10 tickets, we can take care of that for you. Thanks, Don.
What are the dates?
The dates are July 19th to 7 p.m., July 20th, 7 p.m., July 21st, 7 p.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. And we'll have refreshments, and it's all original music. The guy that's worked with me as a composer, they've sold over 1 million records. This is not a kid's show. This is a family-friendly show with a positive message. This is the 3rd time out we've produced it. You're going to want the CD just as much as the kids want to sing the show. So it's not a kiddie show. It's a smart show for kids that are smart, because kids today are really smart, and if you don't believe me, turn on your computer and ask them how to work it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you there.
Another card?
I have Sharon Vazina about Old Orchard electrical posts need to be updated.
Yeah, the posts that are out there were put in back in 1950, 1960 area when you had pop-ups and tents mostly out there. And now we have fifth wheels and other larger RVs. And the posts only have, in the main part, they have 3 30 amp and 1 20. So somebody gets gypped unless they're in a tent or a camper. And since this weather's been so hot, we have had people's air conditioning burn up. And one of those was my brother-in-law, that on his fifth wheel, all of a sudden it popped and he had to replace a few things. Luckily, he's able to do that by himself, but there are other people out there that don't. And even now you go out there and if you sit inside, you can actually hear the air going up and down, because we just don't have enough power out there. So, and I realize that just by reading the paper that Old Orchard does make money for the township, and we would appreciate it if maybe some of that money could go back into the electrical to update it. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Another card?
I have Mark Miller about broadband surveys, Old Orchard Wi-Fi business units and training.
Evening. My name's Mark Miller. I live on base. Yeah, 4 quick things. About 3 years ago, there was an internet survey done for the county, And we found out afterwards that from approximately the railroad tracks on F-41 out to the county line, there's no broadband. We'd like to do a survey, and we'd like to have the commissioners consider putting the survey up on the township website. And the reason being that will get bigger hits than me trying to figure out how to code HTML and then notify people. Second thing is, a year ago I spoke about having Wi-Fi at the public campground. I don't always read the paper, but I haven't noticed anything. Third thing, I did drill down a little bit on the audit that was released last week, and it appears that the DDA is a business unit. I've seen that before when I worked for the Native Americans, in which we had our C-store and the campground and some other business units. And my understanding, which apparently is incorrect, was I thought DDA was a standalone authority. And as a business unit, that means the township is responsible for anything they did or do. Finally, last thing, I went through, and I'm going to have to ask you to share these, and I looked at the management letter comments for Oscoda County and East Tawas. East Tawas is roughly the same size, but they don't seem to have the comments that we get hit with. And what I'd like to suggest is, before I move back in the old CPA days, I did a 2-day conference class in Tacoma, Washington, and I suggest that the township seriously consider sending at least 2 of their employees to that class to learn the rules for the GASB, the Yellow Book, the A133, and the rest of the alphabet pronouncements. You've missed it this year, and I'm wondering, would it make sense to actually bring the course up here, maybe at ACC, partnership with the other communities. I did that with the Native Americans, in which we actually brought the software people out and got 12 of us in a room. I think we were more effective learning, and we just, since we owned the resort, it was free, and we just had to pay for the ladies' mileage and some travel time. And I'd be glad to loan this book to the township with the premise that it does get returned when they're through with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next I have Rachel Height for medical marijuana licenses.
Hello everyone, my name is Rachel Haynes. I wanted to present myself in person today. Before the holiday, I wrote a letter expressing my concerns for increasing the number of licenses for medical marijuana processing and medical marijuana growing. I've been in business for 5 years. I'm very confident I'll be successful. I do have property in Oscoda Township over here in the industrial center. I have been on the waiting list for quite some time now, and so I just wanted to write that letter and get your consideration and maybe go over that and see if we can't increase the licenses. I'm not sure if I'm second or third in line for those licenses, but I do know the first spots are filled. The number 1 spot, I believe you only are giving out 1 license, I believe, for provisioning centers really isn't my concern. It's the processing center and also the growing center. So I would definitely appreciate your consideration in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other cards?
All right, next I have Allison Schock about dead trees at Old Orchard Park.
Hi, how are you doing today? I am talking about today the dead trees in Old Orchard Park. There are many trees that are very tall, large, and they're diseased. Just this past week, a tree fell down about halfway in the middle, and we were having it was on 4th of July, and we were having a big dinner, and there was about 35 people on the site, and thank God that it didn't hit us, but my 2-year-old was about 5 feet from it, so I'm starting to kind of advocate for that. I'm not sure what the protocol is of how you go about finding dead trees, but that whole week I was there was, that I know of, 4 trees had fallen. Thank God that nobody was hurt, but there's a lot of damages. Awnings, and that I know of, awnings, and I think somebody's car got damaged, and then last year my dad's roof got damaged. So there's a lot of insurance claims that are being made, and I just wanted to, I'm not sure if you guys are campers, but I'm there most of the summer, and this is a huge problem. Also, we need the branches to be trimmed. People are taking their trailers that are thousands of dollars, they're backing them in and literally ripping their roofs off, and it costs thousands of dollars, that was one of my issues a couple years ago. So you have to, file a claim. I'm not sure what the protocol is. If I look around, I see a lot of ants on a tree, and then I see a spray painted mark, and I'm not sure if they're supposed to come down, if they should have been down in the spring, but they're dangerous, and they could kill somebody. And by the grace of God, my 2-year-old wasn't hurt. So please do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards?
I have Kathy Camillan about Old Orchard.
Hi, my name is Kathy Camilleri. I'm also a summer resident over at Old Orchard. And I was here last month asking about the reservation process, and then also like how long we're allowed to stay on those sites. Did anybody have a chance to look into that and find out if there's actually a written policy being implemented?
Yeah, the federal government regulates that.
Okay, so right now, it is nowhere near that 35% that the federal government recommends. Old Orchard is way over that. Are you gonna like step it down over the next few years? Are you just gonna slash it next year? Do you have plans as to how you're going to get into compliance with that 35% long-term, like camping sites?
What do you mean it's over 35%?
You guys should probably come out there and check things out. Having that, there's a lot of people, a lot of concerns for those of us that are there all the time. There is, and I sat down with the map and the calculator, and yes, like the section over at the far end that has no electricity and no water, totals about 35% of all the campgrounds there. So it would make sense that when the campground was first brought into existence, it was in compliance, complete compliance. However, over the years, like I said last month, for probably the last 4 or 5 years, we had been renting for 90 days one summer and being allowed to reserve a site for the next summer and stay there from May, and then we typically stay till September, October. So this is the first year. Now, last year I had to leave in July because I had to go home and have a baby. So I lost my ability to be grandfathered in. There's still a lot of sites that are grandfathered in. So there's still a lot of people at the other part of the park that are fearful, are very concerned about what's going to happen next year. Are we all going to have to move every 30 days? What is the policy going to be? And I have cornered Al about it, and I can't get an answer out of him because he won't even say he wouldn't even tell me where the rule was coming from. I had to figure that out. So he wouldn't even say if it was you guys giving the rule, if it was consumers giving the rule. He wouldn't say that it was a federal rule. So now that we've figured out, yes, it's a federal regulation, and yes, the campground has to be in compliance of it. At what point is that going to happen? when I confronted him beginning of the year, I said, well, we need to know so that we can plan whether we should be trying to get a site down where we have to get, paid and get in the lottery and roll the dice and see if we can get a site over there, or if we can plan on coming back here and being grandfathered in and being able to reserve our site like we've done in the years past. So I think it would be a huge benefit to everybody at the campground to tell us what's gonna happen next year. How is this gonna look? What rules are you guys gonna follow and how strictly are you gonna follow them? Because that would eliminate a lot of fear. There's a lot of residents at the campground that can't figure out what's gonna happen. I mean, we bought a brand new camper last winter, right? Come in, we did $4,000 worth of damage to our roof parking it, and then we gotta move it every 30 days and risk continuing to damage it or possibly tear off the roof and have to send it home and start, end our camping season. It wouldn't be such a huge deal if we were parking it once, but moving it every 30 days is a big deal. Especially like Allison was talking about, the condition of these trees, and they're leaning and they're spray painted, so we don't know if it's gonna tip over randomly, and especially after those trees fall, I look around, I'm like, the freaking tree next to my kid's room is like this, and it's got a big dot circle at the bottom. So at what point is that gonna tip over? The whole thing is there's just a lot going on, and it would be beneficial if you guys would get out there and see what's going on and talk to people. With this having to move every 30 days, I go to the office and I get a list of what sites are gonna be available, and then I go around and I talk to the other campers. And I'm a talker, obviously. So I know these people are upset, and that's, it would be a lot to be able to say, this is the rules, you guys can calm down.
Thank you. We'll check into that. Any other cards?
Yes. I have Debbie Atherson about Old Orchard Campground.
First of all, I apologize for not being truly prepared, but we are here about Old Orchard Campground. We've been coming there for over 20 years. We spend a lot of money. Our whole family comes. This year we were told, well, you can only stay 21 days or 30 days and you gotta move. Well, we had planned a big family get together, so we said, I guess we have no choice. We have to move. My father, 86 years old, I said, well, can't you give him a break and let him stay? He's been coming here for over 20 years. No, if we give him a break, we have to give everybody else a break, which Al has. So here we have to move. We have to undo our electric, undo the water, pull in the slide, move in chairs, move in awnings, move picnic tables. That took us all day long. He was wore out. I said, what was the point of this? We moved one spot, and now we left another empty spot, and there's empty spots everywhere. We don't get any answers. What's the advantage of that? Why are we having to move? We talked to Al, the manager. He, very friendly, very nice, but I feel as though he
playing favoritism.
Big time favoritism.
Yeah. Some people have been there over 3 constellations that never moved.
Never have to move. We say, well,
Never had to move them.
how come they didn't have to move? Oh, well, I don't know, this or that. So we just want to be fair. We're fair people. I've never come and complained about anything. I am a registered nurse. I deal with people all the time. We just want fair, or we want answers as to why. No one ever said anything when I paid. Oh, by the way, you gotta move all your stuff in 21 days. We come from the Detroit area, so this isn't an easy task. And we really can't get too many very good answers from the front. And as far as dead trees, I've told them 3 times, this tree is gonna fall on my trailer. It's leaning this way. They said they had to get the forestry department to come in and look at it. I said, well, don't take a rocket scientist to see this tree's dead. It could kill somebody. No answers, no answers. And yet, my son was just up and he took pictures of other campers. We call it Camp Dearborn. They plant grass, they cut grass, they plant flowers, they have brand new electrical hookups. We said, well, how come they got all that? And then we have to move. My brother and his wife just left today. They spend a lot of money here as well. It took them all day to move from one campsite to another.
You gotta take tents down?
For what? That's all I want. What's the advantage? What is the purpose? I'm all about being fair. I don't want I don't want it all, but I want my share, my fair share, as well as everybody else does. So I just feel somebody has to address this, because obviously Al, the manager, he has his friends, and that's how I feel about it. And I hate to say that in public, but that's how I feel about it. And so we're all campers around each other. We've all, over the years have formed friendships, and, none of us are carousers or partiers or anything like that. I think we're law-abiding citizens, and we like the area. But quite frankly, we're thinking we may have to look for another site to spend our hard-earned cash. So I don't know if that will be something that the township would want to look into, but we definitely need answers. And again, I feel like I wasn't really prepared, but, we have to let our feelings be known.
Well,
Yes.
for one person, you're the fourth tonight to talk about Old Orchard, whether it's the trees or I think we will look into this. I don't know what's right or wrong,
Yes.
but
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, we don't want you to come out without
Information.
information.
right.
But when you come out, talk to us also.
We'll give you our site number.
Yeah.
We'll give you dinner.
Yeah, and a cold beer.
We're all family-oriented.
What's your site number?
We're just family-oriented people, and we come
Yeah.
here and
We do
spend our money on
appreciate-
Oscoda. And
We appreciate you listening to us
Yes.
also.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other cards? All right, the floor is now closed to public comment. We move on now to the consent agenda. Any comments regarding the minutes for work session June 22nd, regular meeting for June 25th, and closed session of June 25th?
Thank you.
Any comments regarding the payment of bills for $203,707.97?
I would like to make a comment on the bills. Last Friday, we went over these, and I had a couple of questions about several of the bills that were listed. And I met with Ms. McGuire earlier today, and as always, she was good enough to, walk me through what the problems were. We looked at what my questions were, and she understood that, and so she's agreed to change the coding process in the future, so all of us will have a better idea of what exactly these bills are they're paying. So I just wanted to thank Jamie for taking the time to do that. I think all of us will be able to look at the sheets a little better. I know her and John are more familiar with this. She works with it every day, but those of us that don't, when we see something that doesn't really make sense in some of the bills, we need to have that cleared up. So she agreed to change some of the coding, so hopefully that will help the rest of us in the future. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right, and then regarding the strategic planning work session for August.
We're looking for 2 sessions for August, so I'm starting now because I know it's going to be difficult to get everybody in a room for 2 to 3 hours for 2 times in August. But I put out 8 potential dates. Please let me know, either myself or Tammy. We're trying to compile good dates versus bad dates on there. And we have a lot going on right now strategically. The new Township Master Plan is posted on the website. Mr. Bean from Spicer is in the process of mailing us hard copies. So as soon as we get those, I will definitely keep everybody posted on that. And then we'll be looking about the Township Board's goals and objectives, where we're at through 2018, and the review the Oscoda Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So please let us, myself, Tammy, know what dates are good versus what dates are bad. And I know goes right into the budget work sessions. We want to be able to understand strategically what we're trying to accomplish in 2019 and be able to build that into the budget during September and October. So I also have dates on there as far as potential dates for September and October. Please let me know dates that are good versus bad. And we'll be going over some different reports as far as the budget versus actual, and be compiling the 2018 proposed budget amendments, as well as the capital improvement plan. Be working with the Planning Commission to review the capital improvement plan and be able to incorporate the 2019 strategic initiatives into the budget. So please let me know those dates.
Can we go ahead and schedule these dates now? Everybody ready for that? So, for the strategic planning work session, I would like to go ahead and just schedule 2 dates now, because we know we're not going to get that done in one day as normal. I am not available the 15th, 16th, and 17th of August.
Then those remaining, the 22nd, 23rd, 29th, 30, those will work for me. The last 4.
Okay, 6 is no good for you?
No, thank you.
What about for you?
The 6 won't work for me,
Okay.
but the last 4 will.
I'm good with the last ones.
Okay. Mr. Byer?
Yeah, I don't see any problem 2 in the afternoon, but I'm a changeable situation guy, so. But the last 4, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, any of those are okay. As I said here tonight, they seem to be okay, so.
Yeah, the 22nd, 23rd, or 29th, 30th, I think will work for me. Just like Mr. Byer said, that's over a month away. I mean, something could come up, but right now that looks open to me.
All right, so do we want to go ahead and go with the 22nd and 29th?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, fine, sure.
All right, so 2 strategic planning work sessions for August 22nd, August 29th, 2 p.m. here at the library. Now for the budget work sessions. The only date I see as a problem initially here is the 12th, which is the form-based training, proposed training day for form-based code. Other than that, I'm available any of those other days.
I don't have anything, so. Probably the first week of October is not good for me. Right now, anyways.
Is it October 3rd, you mean, or 3rd and 4th?
Right.
Yeah, fine, okay. Sure. That could work for me as well.
Yeah.
How about for you, Mr. Gaston?
Yep. 3rd and 4th works fine.
3rd and 4th are off.
Yeah.
Oh, they're off?
Off.
Well, anytime. I'm available all the time.
Yeah.
Not the 10th of October.
Do you have any days, Mr. Palmer?
We schedule the other 2 for Wednesdays. Wednesdays usually are pretty good days for me.
Okay.
So I'm retired, so I'm open most of the time.
So then, let's see, 29th, 5th, then how about September 19th and September 26th? Does that work?
Yep.
That works for me.
2 Wednesdays, yep.
Okay, so for the budget work sessions, Wednesday, September 19th, and Wednesday, September 26th.
And those are 2 to whenever, 2 also? 2 o'clock start?
2 o'clock at the library.
Okay.
All right, and that is part of our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Byer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call?
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. Consent agenda is passed. Subcommittee reports and project updates. Do we have any?
I'd just like to make a comment concerning the Planning Commission. You touched on it, the training that's being scheduled for September that has to do with form-based code. I think it would be very, very helpful if as many members of this board could be in attendance, as well as many members of the DDA, and also the Planning Commission members. I think most of them are planning on trying to attend that. But I think especially if this board and the DDA could participate in that, if at all possible, would be very, very helpful.
And what about the ZBA?
And the ZBA as well, certainly.
Bill, what date is that?
That's September 12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will most likely be the majority of an afternoon, maybe like a noon to 4 or noon to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any updates?
Well, our fellow road committee member, Martin, informed me when he came in that the Colbath paving project is done and the fix-up to Alexander from last year is done. Anything else, Martin?
They're working on the shoulders and the driveway approaches that were gravel.
Okay.
So it looks good. I drove down and we should have had that 20 years ago.
And I think all three of us on the committee figured that this would be a late summer, early fall deal. And so we're happy that it's done, and I'm sure the residents are happy.
Okay, anybody have anything else? All right, then we move on to reports. First is the groundwater monitoring well requested by the Air Force at Ken Ratliff Park. In considering this, they attempted a map anyways to show us where that well will be located and some of the specs associated with it. I thought we'd be able to have this as an action item today, but the Air Force still has not gotten us an access agreement for this well. I talked to him just a few hours ago, and he said that they're working on that.
I was wondering, would it be helpful to speak with our landscape architect, Beckett Rader, about a location, since there's going to be work being done at the park, and relatively soon? Might be helpful if they looked at it to pinpoint a good spot to have this for future planning purposes.
Any other comments regarding this?
That monitoring well going to be removed, or is it going to be permanent?
We don't have the verbiage in the agreement, but I would prefer it's removed when it's done. You received an access agreement that said that it would be removed
10
later,
years.
and that's one that was going on your property, right?
Yes, just down the street from Ratcliffe.
So hopefully we get something similar.
Yeah, because this is government property versus private property. That's why I question that.
So, and once we receive it, we'll have the attorney review over it.
I'm guessing that this is a critical, this monitoring well is a critical issue, and I would think the Air Force, if they have a choice of where they would like it, the park is rather large, and I think that the Beckett and Raider would have to work around that. They're the second concern of mine. So when the Air Force decides what it exactly wants and where, let's follow that. So.
What was explained to me when I was approached about putting one on my property is that they had decided they wanted to have several monitoring wells along F41 closer to the lake shore. And so they were asking residents who would agree. They said they were going to ask 4 people, and apparently they got 4 people to agree, I being one of them. But the whole point, they said they would put anywhere on my property that I wanted to have it, so I picked out a spot, and they said it was fine. They just wanted them to be relatively a little closer to the water than what they have now, more on the base and across F41. So I was willing to, we have a problem. If that'll help fix it, I'm more than happy to, go along with that. So I think the Township should do the same. I just think that, since we're going to be doing some work at Ratliff Park, maybe to get some input from Beckett and Raider as to the most advantageous spot to avoid having to, change our plans when we do the construction. When the Air Force talked to me, they weren't very concerned about where on my property it was. And so I picked a spot, and they said that's fine. So.
Yeah, that makeshift map that they gave us, it shows to be on the extreme, I guess you'd call it the east side of the park, which is not going to be that much development over there. It's going to be regular shoreline and all that. So I don't see where it's going to hurt.
Yeah, the map that I saw wasn't very detailed.
It's not very good detailed, but it
really
looks like
pinpoint
it's
where
going
it
that
was,
way.
but.
Okay. Anything else for this subject? All right, then I make a motion, we postpone this until the Air Force provides us with an access agreement.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Weed, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call?
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion's passed. Next, Huron Shores Artisan Hall use application request by the DDA.
All right, so the DDA is requesting the Township Board approve an interim use application. The interim use application will be presented to the DDA tomorrow, Tuesday, the 10th, and the application for the Huron Shores Artisan Hall is in your packet for review. And with the grand opening of the Huron Shores Artisan Hall scheduled for Wednesday, the 18th of July, the timing of this request was critical.
Any comments?
Tell me about the word interim. What?
This is an application to get the process rolling so that people can start renting right away. And once more detail is received from other municipalities who do similar work, so we can incorporate it in here to ensure we have an application that covers most aspects of renting the facility, will then be provided to us in September. They're also going to take another look at the rate schedule at that time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Nothing major, just I know that she noted in her correspondence that she was doing this at a very late hour, so I did notice a few typos, but that's something that can be easily corrected.
Any other comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application, the hall use application, contingent upon the DDA accepting the same, and legal review, if that hasn't been done already.
Support.
Motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Byer. Roll call?
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion is passed. Next, Huron Shores Artisan Hall fee waiver policy.
All right, so the DDA is requesting that the Township Board approve an interim fee waiver policy. And the fee waiver policy will be presented to the DDA tomorrow, Tuesday, the 10th. And the fee waiver policy is in your packet. And again, with the grand opening being for the Huron Shores Artisan Hall, scheduled for the 18th of this month, the timing of this request is critical.
Any comments?
Do we have a similar policy with any of our other facilities that we charge for public use?
We do for Warrior Pavilion.
And does this mirror it in any way?
It's similar.
Okay.
My concern is this policy has is reliant on the DDA doing the waiver,
I see.
not the Township Board,
Right.
considering
The wording?
the state of, with them being a board of the Township Board, that concerns me.
Yeah.
My other concern is I don't know if they can afford to waive fees.
Yeah.
By my estimation, at least, this will have to be rented at least 44 weekends a year in order to break even.
I have a few of the same concerns. However, with the only benefit to it that I can see by doing it is that if it's a community-based thing, then you're going to have more people coming into the facility to see what it's like. You know, like if it's a Lions Club thing or Rotary or something like that, that's going to bring other people in and look at it, and they'll be like, hey, you know, this is a really cool place. Maybe we should rent it for something, a wedding or a graduation party or something like that. Would be, you know, that would be the only thing I would be a positive for.
Any other comments?
Well, my only comment is, I think they're asking for this as another interim policy, which would be revised no later than September 24th. So under that pretext, I'd like to have our attorney look at this policy, and I think Mr. Weed's correct. There should be some guidelines that this board would have some say over which waivers would be, as opposed to the DDA, given the current situation with the DDA. But I think that could be worked out. I know that it's time sensitive for them. They're trying to have an open house on the 18th and get this thing rented, and I'm all in favor of that. I just think, you know, if we have till September 24th, we can, you know, look at this policy and make some updates, and with that, along with the application process to get it right.
I would like to mention there should be contingent based on DDA approval, since this is kind of the cart before the horse, where the board is
Right.
reviewing this before the DDA is.
Right.
Any other comments?
I think I would like to see it be where it includes the Oscoda board too, also.
Yep.
Not just specifically the,
DDA.
yeah.
Yeah.
We already have the Warrior policy that we do and have a waiver, and I know that we discuss it usually, and it seems to work.
So you're saying that if somebody's asking for, organization or whatever, is asking for a waiver, that this would have to be decided by the DDA board and this board.
I think there's a lot of unknowns yet of how this whole thing's going to play out, is like who's going to be taking obviously with the township, will probably be taking the deposit and the rental fee, that type of thing, and functioning similar to the way we do with the Warrior, and, who takes the reservation and write it down and get the insurance, that type of thing. I think that if we're going to follow the same thing that we're doing with the Warrior, that this should also follow that as well.
Okay.
It shouldn't be different.
Okay. My question was not meant to be critical or opinionated, but the answer is yes. It is going to have to be approved.
I would have to say, yes is the short answer. I guess I was just trying to, I'm not trying to keep them out of it. I just want it to flow smoothly and kind of, no sense changing it if it's working.
Right.
Yeah, I would think it should flow more similar to what the planning commission does. They would make a recommendation to us, and then we'd make a decision on what action to take on a fee waiver, like we do with virtually everything else.
Right.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the guidelines, the waiver guidelines, if we change the specifically to include some type of language saying that the DDA needs to bring it to the township board for finalized approval for the waiver to be approved.
And that's an interim agreement that would be updated by no later than
Yeah.
September 24th?
Yep, and contingent upon their passing it tomorrow. In legal review, are you okay with the legal review part, Bill? And we'll just put that in there as well.
It has been legally reviewed, and there were some concerns with it.
Okay.
Which means that we will, at the same time, we should rewrite the Warrior Pavilion
At the
fee
same
waiver
time.
agreement.
There we go. I like that.
Okay, that's fine.
Wow, so there's a lot there. I'm looking at the blank look on our deputy clerk's face. What is the motion?
Right? Listen to the tape tomorrow? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
All right, so there's a motion by Ms. McGuire,
I'll support that.
support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call?
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion's passed. Next, Oscoda Wordsmith Airport LDFA requested budget amendment.
All right, so the OWA LDFA is requesting a 2018 budget amendment associated with the Pride Road reconstruction project. So this project has been in the works for the past several years, and in your packet, there's a string of emails with the proposed 2018 budget amendment and the resolution from the OWA LDFA 2018-01. And the spreadsheet detailed the 2018 revenue and appropriation line items to be amended. And there was also a redacted bank statement within the packet to show that there is cash available to be able to increase appropriations.
Comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the OWA LDFA requested budget amendment.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Byer. Roll call?
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion's passed. Next, request for Furtaw Field use by Oscoda football program.
All right, so Coach Whitley has been in contact with the township and school administration to plan football practices again downtown. And Coach Whitley is requesting the use of Furtaw Field Monday, August 6th through Wednesday, August 8th in the morning and early afternoon from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this has been a popular event in the past where people come downtown to watch football practice, so.
Any comments?
Just want to thank Coach Whitley for all his efforts that he does trying to bring the community together.
We don't have the sprinklers on, do we?
I don't think so. Nope,
They
not.
may want
Although
them
they
on.
might want, they might want them on.
Is that the main reason that he's requesting this, is to make it more public and, okay.
Yeah, and so they'll line the field, and people can come bring down their lawn chairs and be able to watch practice.
I noticed in his correspondence that he cited that last year they lined the field and the next day the lines were gone.
I guess after they cut the grass, it kind of goes away.
Oops.
So we're going to avoid that this year?
Hopefully.
Avoid that happening this year?
I believe in the correspondence he said after the first grass cut, it pretty much goes away. So it's I believe what he was referring to is that it's not a kind of a permanent thing. It's not going to stay. The lines aren't going to stay on Furtall Field for weeks on end.
I know, but I mean, can we avoid having the lawn mowed the very next day?
I'm sure we can work that out.
Okay, because I'm sure it's not a whole lot of fun to line that field 3 days in a row, if you can avoid it, so.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for Furtall Field use.
Motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Gieske. Roll call?
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, motion's passed. Next, request to designate Township Superintendent as Redevelopment Ready Communities Coordinator.
All right, so there are some upcoming trainings for redevelopment ready communities. They're in Lansing. I have one scheduled for Tuesday, the 7th of August, and then Friday, the 14th. So these are required training sessions in the process for the township to achieve redevelopment ready community certification. So once certified, the township will have access to additional technical assistance and opportunities to showcase the community to potential developers. This kind of goes hand in hand with that upcoming training, the 12th of September. In there for redevelopment ready communities, they want communities to understand form-based zoning and what that means. So we're working towards being able to better understand that and educate the boards and the commissions to be able to move forward with that.
Comments? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the Township Superintendent as the Redevelopment Communities Coordinator and to represent the township on RRC matters.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call?
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, motion's passed. All right, item G, GAC plant manhole installation request. So in the letter, I outlined our discussions with the Air Force a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember now. And they wanted some statement in writing showing that we are providing access for them to put the manhole in place. Now, as I said in the letter, they have not reviewed the access agreement that we provided to them. They said it could take up to 3 months, which is a little confusing for me since I'm pretty sure they have a JAG office right down the road from them. At least all the places I've been have. So, and somehow trying to make sure that they can keep in with their timeline, I would like for them to be able to put in this manhole, but I want them, as I told them before, to get us an access agreement soon afterwards. So I was thinking that in this case here, if we grant it to them, that they get us an access agreement no later than August 22nd for our board's review at our meeting on August 27th.
Okay.
And that's after their date of when that plant is to be completed.
And the RAB as well. Early August.
Do you have any comments regarding this?
I think it was made clear to them that we don't want to hold up the progress on the GAC plant, so we're willing to work with them so they can install the manhole, just that we get an agreement relatively soon, sometime after. I think that was made clear.
All right, so then I make a motion that we consider provide written authorization for the Air Force to install the manhole under the requirement they provide an access agreement that is acceptable to the Oscoda Township Board no later than August 22nd for the board's review on August 27th.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Weed, support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call?
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion has passed. Next, resolution and ordinances, Resolution 2018-18 for the Iron Bell Trail Grant Administration. Purpose of this, as I explained in a previous meeting, is to consolidate the design grants that were awarded by the three townships of Asable, Oscoda, and Plainfield. This way, with the pooling of the funds, we will then put out a bid for the entire rest of the trail to be designed. Otherwise, the trail will be done in sections, and that will leave out Phase 7. I think it's Phase 7 will leave out from the design portion of it. So hopefully, with the pooling of funds, we can actually save money by having the entire rest of it done in one shot.
Well, now, when you say we're saving money, but it was my understanding at the work session on Friday that we don't have to put any more money in by adopting this resolution. But you're saying there's potential in saving the money? Can you explain?
Yes, because if we do it without consolidating it, then we will have to seek additional funds to finish the design work of that gap at the last part of the path.
Okay,
So future savings.
I get it.
And wasn't the total amount between the three townships around $80,000 combined?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2018-18.
Support.
Motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Byer. Roll call?
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion's passed. Next, ordinance revisions proposed for the Wordsmith Business District. And this here will add towing and impound operations as a special use in the WB3 district and add recycling as a regular use, if I understand that correctly. Any comments?
Under the recycling part, how are we going to regulate that? To make sure it like doesn't get out of control and just become a big storage area for a bunch of stuff?
Mr. Palmer?
Well, there would be restrictions placed on what can be done there, in terms of a recycling facility. Recycling is becoming a pretty big issue here in Iosco County. I think there's been a couple of meetings concerning recycling. We don't have any to speak of here in Oscoda Township. So the idea of having one, I think, is a good one. But there would be restrictions placed on what can and can't be done in terms of the zoning.
I was just thinking of the one that they had, it was some time ago, the buildings, used to be behind the community center, actually. And it was all fenced in. I don't know if anybody
That's
here
correct.
remembers that.
I do.
But there was a lot of stuff in that yard that just was sitting there. And it turned out to be, it was a mess, actually. But
A little
just
bit
don't
of
wanna see
history on
something
that.
like that.
I'm sorry, pardon me.
Oh, I said I just don't want to see something like that happen again.
Right. As I recall, one of the gentlemen, I don't know how many of these facilities may have existed on the base at different times, but I know one individual, he actually owned one of the facilities, possibly the one you're referring to. And he was kind of forced out of business because he was a small facility compared to the larger ones up in Alpena, and he couldn't get people to come and get his material to be recycled because they raised the minimum limits. And so he found himself backlogged with material, like you were pointing out, and incapable of moving it. So my concern about this topic, as much as I've been in favor of recycling, is that we can't monitor or regulate the business of recycling. So ordinance is fine, but I'm concerned about this topic as it's being handled by other companies and businesses in the area.
Yeah, I knew one in Tawas down there, before Waste Management took it over. That gentleman had to wind up taking his back to the landfill.
Exactly.
Because,
Yep.
and he had bales and bales of everything down there.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah, to not make too fine a point of it, it's a little bit of, capitalism meets bully, trying to do good. It's like, I'm sorry, it's just, you got people wanting to recycle, wanting to do what's right for the environment, wanting to live into the Pure Michigan campaign, et cetera, be good for the environment. But, then you just get into this whole other overlay that just is not something we as a township can control. So I just want to be clear as my position on it. I like what we're trying to do, but it's
Rock and a hack spot.
that's right.
And just to clarify what I said here, towing and impound special use in the WB3, recycling in the industrial district. The planning commission had been working on the towing and impound, actually all three of them, for a few months already. It looks like we're probably gonna have some changes added into that to define things a little narrower, a little more specific. So those will be coming back to the board to do some sort of change or amendment to this ordinance that's in our packet now. So that could be another couple months.
So I have a question, and it's really about, I guess I should look at this again. What is it we're being asked to do here tonight?
So
Make sure
you're
I'm
putting
clear.
under principal uses in WB3, we're putting wrecker and towing services as a principal use.
Okay,
Then under special use is the tow lot and impound yard.
okay,
Right now, it's allowed in the B2 district,
right,
but not in WB3.
right. And we're also approving section 4.15A, which
Correct.
is the, okay,
For industrial, which is for the recycling, and that's on the north end of WB3.
right. So, Mr. Palmer, you were mentioning that we could have ordinances which restrict, et cetera. Do we have anything in place that covers, or anything that's proposed to cover these new amendments that we're discussing tonight?
Well, there are restrictions within the zoning ordinance for all the districts, so those would come into play.
Okay,
There aren't anything specific for recycling because recycling was removed from the zoning ordinance some years ago.
yep,
But given the interest in recycling now, we felt it was important to put that back in.
yeah,
My feeling is anything that'll keep people from dumping the trash out in the national forest in areas. That's why I think the refuse collection is a good idea. I think recycling is a good idea.
I agree.
Could there be some abuse? Of course.
Yep.
But hopefully, we'll get something in here in Oscoda Township that will be beneficial to the residents to be able to recycle the way things they want to be able to recycle and not have to haul it down to Tawas or Alpena or someplace else to do that. So.
On a cross-topic but related point regarding recycling, there's been discussion at with the collection of townships within Iosco County to put in county-wide recycling or something along those lines. Of course, I don't know of any real tangible steps taken yet, but what if that was to occur? How would that affect this?
Well, I think it would just put Oscoda Township in line with the rest of the county. There are some recycling centers in the county, but they're minimal.
Yeah.
And like I said previously, there has been some concerted effort by the county to increase the availability of recycling for the residents of Iosco County. And so this would sort of put Oscoda Township on the map for that. I mean, this would be our first step towards that goal of the county, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you heard anything more about the county recycling?
I've never gotten another email about it. They were just, that last meeting that we were at, they were looking for not really people from the township, elected officials, they wanted people, citizens, to be more involved from each community. And I know I mentioned it, I think at least one board meeting. If anybody was interested, to get a hold of me or to get a hold of the county, and I haven't heard of any other meeting happening.
I'd love to see the county implement a program.
Me too.
Me too. I wouldn't mind having the facility in the old Wordsmith district that, for the county, because it would bring people to town and from the other areas, but, and this would be one good step in that way, but I would really like to see a tight design on the setup for it. I've seen some really cool ones, actually. I've seen them more and more about the one I was talking about being in South Carolina. So it was just kind of a drop and a ledge, and the rollaways were at the below the ledge, and they just threw the stuff in each big bin and drove away, and there was no mess or no stacking or nothing. It was just a real nice setup, and when it was full, it got hauled out, and the next empty one got put in there.
So it was a transit site.
But yeah, basically, yep.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, the days of piles of, sorted rubbish is not exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, is these activities, towing, impoundment, recycling, etc., are they at all close to any residential areas on the base? No.
No, no, it's not. Yeah, they're far enough away from the actual base housing, the old base housing, the villages.
Mm-hmm. So it's the feeling of the board that we should not involve the village's government in making decisions here. It's our decision. Should we notify them what we're doing, or is it not that close?
It's not that close, although I couldn't give you a distance measurement.
Okay. The site that's been proposed is directly behind the Awney Medical Center.
For towing. Towing and impound.
For towing, not for recycling, yeah.
No.
No, recycling is further north of that, further away from housing.
Yeah,
Right.
far away. So, no, I
Up there.
yeah, exactly, right, yeah. No, I don't, I suppose we could if we wanted, but I don't know that that's a sensitive issue, and I think that this has been it's been out there for discussion. I don't know, I guess it's a board decision. I don't feel strongly about it, and I live on the old base, so.
That's why I'm kind of asking you as
Fair enough.
the guy that knows what feelings are possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're talking about a towing facility or an impound yard, again, back to, we're putting this agreement there without knowing exactly what the ordinance restrictions might be if once we had this. I mean, I'm not familiar with all those details at this point with what is already in place, but I would imagine it's not going to look like, Radiator Springs and the Cars.
Well,
Disney animation version.
let me just point out that for the tow lot and impound yard, that is a special permitted use.
Agreed.
Which means they have to come to the planning commission to outline what their plan is, and then we can make set requirements on them for special, like for instance, to have special fencing around the entire yard, so it's blocked off.
Exactly.
You can't see, and those kinds of things for the special permitted use, that they would have to come before the planning commission to get approval. So, and for a towing business, a towing business is a business. I mean, why you wouldn't allow one in the WB3? I fail to see
and
a reason.
currently, it's in B2, which is right in our economic corridor, right where all the visitors and residents see everything going on every day.
And the other thing I'd point out about
and very close to housing too.
Agreed.
Yes. And the other thing I'd point out is in terms of the recycling, this is for recycling materials collection center. There wouldn't be a factory where they would be processing anything. This would simply be a place where residents could come, drop off the materials, and they would be shipped then to another facility for processing. So just for clarification on what exactly it is we're talking about adding here.
That's useful.
Any other comments? Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the ordinance revisions proposed as presented.
Support.
I'll support it.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Weed. Roll call.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes, motion's passed. All right, now we're into public comments. For this one, a card does not have to be filled out. Anyone may speak. When you come up, please introduce yourself. Does anybody wish to speak? All right, then next we're into board comments. Does anybody have anything?
I have a board question. Under informational, number 6, did you folks talk about this at all on Friday, or are we going to answer this request at a different time, or just ignore it, or what?
This is going back to the planning commission to get their recommendation first.
Well, I'd like to speak to that point. I don't know that it needs to go back to the planning commission. It was discussed at our last planning session meeting a week ago, and it was advanced by the planning commission that their original recommendation was for an unlimited number, and the planning commission is still under that feeling. That was at the last planning commission that we had a week ago. That is still their recommendation. Now, if we want to discuss this a little more, the lady that was speaking, we do have a number of people on a waiting list. And in terms of the grow facilities, under the statute, they're only allowed in industrial or agricultural. Those are the only districts that they can be allowed in. So my recommendation, I would like to see us, in fact, I'll make a motion that we increase the number of grow licenses to 5 from 2.
All right, motion's been made. Is there support?
I'll support it, get on the table.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Mr. Gieske. Roll call?
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
No.
Mr. Byer?
No.
Mr. Cummings?
No.
Mr. Gieske?
No.
Mr. Weed?
Yes. Motion's failed. All right, is there any other board comments?
I'd like to make one, I'd like to thank our DPW. 4th of July, our parks were just crowded. And after everybody left, they left you know what. And by Thursday morning, 9 o'clock, you didn't know an event took place. They really did a bang-up job. Really, I was impressed. I really was. Because this is a new crew. And they did a bang-up job.
I want to say that I was really pleased with the quality of the fireworks performance.
They were amazing.
Some of those fireworks were spectacular. I'd never even known fireworks like that existed.
Did anybody take a survey to see if the finale was 10% larger than the year before?
The whole show was
The whole
definitely,
fireworks was 10%
yeah.
I was doing Coast Guard patrols on the water for Augrey, Oscoda, and Harrisville. And out of those three, I would say ours was the best one. Harrisville had a pretty good introduction on their show, but out of the entire show, I think ours was done very well.
I enjoyed it.
Any other comments? All right, then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thanks for coming out.